Hello everyone, welcome to this Connect session with Taxback International on how you can maximise your VAT reclaim from within Webexpenses. Today I'm joined by Fiona from Taxback International. Hi Fiona, how are you doing?
Hi Andy, how are you today?
Very well, thank you. So my name is Andy, I'm the head of sales within Webexpenses. And just to give you a bit of a brief introduction on our partnership with Taxback International. So we partnered with these guys because a lot of our clients were looking at better ways to maximise their VAT reclaim, and also to make sure that the claims that were going through Webexpenses were in line with policy and control. So the partnership that we do have in place is best of breed across what's out there in the marketplace, and these guys are the expert in both auditing and maximising the VAT reclaim. So in this session today we're just going to be talking a little bit more about their services and what they offer, and hopefully how they can help you maximise the VAT globally, but also make sure people are controlling what they're spending in a little bit more detail.
Thanks Andy, and just to introduce myself, my name is Fiona Kennedy and I'm a Global Solutions Manager at Taxback International. I suppose as you touched on there, companies find, the key challenges would be not aware that there's a VAT reclaim opportunity, or else maybe companies might have started to look at reclaim opportunity, but due to various regulations decided not to continue and stop doing the process altogether. And we find as well that companies that look at VAT reclaim in-house typically only probably recover 30% of the opportunity, whereas using a great partnership like Webexpenses, Taxback International, that can rise up to 70% of the opportunity.
So quite a significant amount that they can reclaim back.
Yeah, quite significant. I suppose the main challenges companies find are the various rules and regulations through the various countries. It can be quite complex, and also a lot of companies just don't have time to reclaim the VAT on their foreign travel because they're so busy in-house in the finance team. So it's lack of resources as well, I guess. And also legislation can be very complex. The letters that companies receive back from the tax office can be in local languages, and so obviously companies may not have the facilities either to deal with the answers to these questions.
So our customers that are watching this today, how would they know that they're maybe not maximising the potential VAT reclaim that they could get?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I suppose the greatest benefit of using Webexpenses is that we can review the actual data, and so it takes the guesswork out of everything. So we can run a seamless analysis through a data pull from Webexpenses, and then highlight at the very start the opportunities available per member state of refund. And companies are usually absolutely surprised with this figure because they've only maybe been claiming back 30% of this.
So customers which are already using Webexpenses, how does that add value to the partnership if they were looking at the services that you guys offered?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I suppose customers that currently use Webexpenses, we can run a real-time report on the system because all the data that we need to do so is in there. The employee travel data, etc. So it takes the guesswork out of VAT reclaim, because initially we're going to give you a real-time report to establish the opportunities available. Okay,
so we've got all of the data, you can then analyse everything and see what's happening and help to advise the client on maximising the VAT, whether that be within the UK or internationally as well.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So all the great data is available within the Webexpenses tool, and then we have proprietary VAT technology that can run analysis remotely and seamlessly through our great connection with Webexpenses.
Okay, so the initial effort for a customer that was maybe looking at seeing if there was some potential reclaim, the actual effort that's required initially is fairly kind of minimal to do that initial analysis?
Yes, absolutely. The effort from a customer is absolutely minimal. Once they connect us with the data. We can seamlessly pull the data through our tool in real time, and obviously we're fully compliant with GDPR.
Okay, and in terms of, I mean, VAT is obviously a bit of a minefield in terms of the areas in which you can and can't reclaim VAT on.
Just to go back to basics, I guess, on VAT. So VAT is an international tax that's levied on commodities. So for businesses, VAT on sales is actually a liability, but of course VAT on purchases can be an asset, in that in the context of web expense, the VAT on the employee expense is reclaimable. So there are different legislations that would guide what is eligible and in which country. So there is the 8 directive, which is the EU to EU VAT reclaim. In this instance, we can use the scanned images from Webexpense to reclaim VAT. There's also a 13 directive VAT reclaim, which is the VAT reclaim on the non-EU travel into the EU. Again, we have a solution with Webexpense to capture this VAT. There's a requirement that you use an original receipt or a copy, but we have a working solution there. And the other type of VAT reclaim is 6 directive, which is your domestic VAT reclaim on your local in-country expense.
I mean, that sounds quite complicated. For an average employee within an organisation that travels internationally, how are they meant to remember all of that?
Yeah, so I guess the employee doesn't really need to remember anything, because this is where our partnership with Webexpenses comes into play, in that Taxback International have the expertise in-house to work with all the various countries to reclaim the VAT on business expenses.
And I guess for the organisation and the finance team as well, I heard from one of your colleagues this morning that said that in the US there's 6,500 different tax combinations there possibly could be. I guess for a business that's trying to keep up with those rules, that must be quite difficult.
Yeah, so Taxback International, we've worked in the area of VAT reclaim for over 20 years, so we have the teams in-house with the expertise to look at all the various countries with VAT reclaim regime. I think there's 199. Working with the Webexpenses platform and our experienced technical team, we can create bespoke reclaim solutions based on the origin country of the entity and what country they're reclaiming from.
Okay, so what typical type of expenses could you reclaim VAT on?
Yeah, so the typical type of expenses would be T&E expenses, which is travel and entertainment expenses, and accounts payable expenses. So in the context of Webexpenses, there's lots of expenses within the system where companies can reclaim the VAT, such as hotels, restaurants, car hire, and all your typical business expenses.
So Fiona, for the people watching us today, why would they consider stopping doing their own VAT reclaim and using the partnership that we've got in place?
Yeah, so as we already spoke about, the actual area of VAT reclaim itself is quite complex. I suppose another aspect to it is the resources. So not all finance teams would have the resources to go through lots of expense reports and reclaim the VAT to various multiple countries. So what we can do is, we can look at the eligible expenses within Webexpense and reclaim VAT, excuse me, on those. But we can also look at the ineligible expenses, and through continuous improvement programs, we can highlight the exact expenses that companies are missing out the opportunity on.
Right, okay, that sounds interesting. When you say the kind of continuous improvement, what exactly is that?
So the continuous improvement program basically is where Taxback International would review the ineligible expenses of a Webexpense user and then highlight exactly where each cost centre is losing its VAT reclaim opportunity, and then develop programs to advise next steps on increasing reclaim. Typically, companies that implement a continuous improvement program can increase reclaim by 30% in phase 1 of a project.
Right, okay.
And obviously thereon after each year continually improve the reclaim.
So quite a significant change then from kind of adopting that plan. Is that typically things such as training and education of the users? So for example, I know if I travel to France, for example, I will need to store a copy of my hard copy receipt as opposed to maybe taking a picture of it and throwing it in the bin. Is it that type of scenario?
So Andy, we have a client relationship manager who would manage the continuous improvement program for a company. And through this, there's a number of tools that we utilise in this program, such as educational videos for the employees, virtual ID cards, training programs.
Certainly within my team, one of the things I see the most is the difference in parking tickets. So off-street parking and on-street parking,
Right.
and the VAT rules that kind of apply there.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, it'd be quite nice to kind of educate some of my team about the kind of the differences that program would make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, through a continuous improvement program, we can review all those issues and then right down to the actual cost centre where, say it's your team, we can identify maybe who that user is and try and educate them. And we use surveys to evaluate the level of knowledge of the employee around the upload of the expense. Once a company is implementing a continuous improvement program, every quarter we have a business meeting with our client relationship manager who reviews the results, and we continue then obviously in trying to increase the reclaim.
So Fiona, a lot of countries where you can claim VAT and a lot of countries that you can't, and also different rules and regulations for different categories for those countries. How do Taxback International not only keep on top of those changes but also adapt to them as well?
Yeah, no, you're absolutely correct, Andy. There's lots of new regulation within various European countries and with the onslaught of real-time reporting in the like of Spain and Hungary. But in Taxback International we have the technology in-house that allows us to provide real-time reports. And of course utilising the experience and expertise of the in-house team in conjunction with this technology, we can provide these reports daily, weekly, monthly.
Excellent. So everyone's favourite topic, Brexit. What impact, if any, do you think Brexit will have on tax legislation and tax reclaim within the UK?
For UK reclaim currently, we can use scanned images because it falls under 8 directive reclaim. But we envisage, once the UK leave the EU, that they will become a 13th directive reclaim country, which means that we'll need true and certified copies or original invoices to file claims. So the great news is we already have a working solution with Webexpenses for the reclaim of 13th directive VAT.
So Fiona, it sounds like there's a lot going on, not just globally, but also as a result of Brexit as well, that you guys need to keep your eye on. For our clients that are watching this today, how would you kind of summarise in terms of what the partnership could bring to our customers?
Yeah, so the advantages of the partnership for companies would be return on investment, in that we could maximise the refund on the business expenses within Webexpense. We don't have any thresholds when it comes to reclaims, so we can capture the VAT on every single transaction. Another advantage would be the fact that our fee is contingency based. So the actual fee for the service comes out of the eligible VAT that we refund from the local tax office. So there's no upfront cost for our analysis. We have a reporting tool that's integrated with Webexpenses. So this ensures that your finance teams have control and visibility on the reclaim opportunity. So the Taxback International and Webexpenses partnership ensures that all data transferred are 100% secure. We're fully compliant with GDPR, And obviously we're guided by the EU regulation under ISO 27001. We operate separate bank accounts for our clients in every EU country.
Okay, so it sounds like we've got all of the data in which you would need to analyse. You guys are the expert in seeing what can and can't be reclaimed globally. There's no fees that are needed up front. So it sounds like if people are watching and they are interested in seeing if they can maximise their VAT, not just initially, but then on a continuous basis, they should get in touch.
It's a free real-time analysis, and companies can get in touch today to see what they're leaving on the table.
Fiona, thank you very much for your time today. If you wanted to drop by the Taxback International booth within Virtual Connect, please feel free to do so. You can ask questions, you can download resources and get a little bit more information. If you are interested in finding out or talking to Taxback International, again, please either visit the booth, contact your account manager, and we can put you in touch to look at how you can maximise your VAT reclaim.
Thanks, Andy.
Okay.